EOM Business Network. So much for one broadcast.
Hello everyone, it's a beautiful day to you and thank you very much for joining us. You're watching the EOM Business Network, indeed the voice of corporate Nigeria. I am Olorogo Elkanah Mowari. Today on the program, as always, our focus is on the Nigerian economy. We shall be speaking with select industry operators about their businesses, the operating environment, and other related issues. Also on the lineup is Let's Talk, and our focus is on the CABOTA Group with Dr. Jordan Femi Fagite, a pragmatic, astute entrepreneurial expert and industry captain, who is the Group Executive Director General Services of the company. On Spot On, we shall continue our conversation with an embodiment of intelligence, purpose-driven entrepreneur, philanthropist, real estate management expert, and industry captain, Dikin Babajide John Durojai, who is the founder, group managing director, and chief executive officer of LEGRANDE Property Development Company Limited, a renowned multidisciplinary real estate firm in Africa, and indeed one of the 100 most distinguished CEOs in Nigeria in 2023. And on the face-to-face is a close-up with an audacious, astute, highly experienced petroleum engineering expert, vision-driven entrepreneur and industry captain, AKU Eke, who is the Chief Executive Officer of SPRINGROCK Group, one of the frontline diversified oil and gas support solutions providers in Africa, and indeed one of the 100 most distinguished CEOs in Nigeria in 2023. It's a package you can't afford to miss. Stay with us.
Hello there. Hello everybody. We are LEGRANDE Properties Development Company Limited. We're a real estate and construction company with over 20 years of construction experience that has vetted over 11 completed estates with world-class infrastructures, all resident in Nigeria. What stands us out is that we go the extra mile to deliver all our estates with impeccable excellence, quality delivery, and robust integrity. Please kindly listen to the testimonies of some of our homeowners.
Indeed, it's a place I'm happy to come home to. They manage the property very well.
We have two sections of our buildings in this estate. We have the phase 1, we have the phase 2.
This beautiful place on the mainland, we're used to seeing all these kind of things on the island, and I was like, well, I'm interested.
So this will be a good time to be looking at, real estates in Nigeria, that at least you can see evidence of their track record, what they've done.
I'd say kudos to them. They've done well, and I think they would have gained the confidence of most potential buyers.
Oluwatobi Ajayi is the founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Nord Automobiles Limited.
We provide the entire value chain. I was trained by one of the best companies in the world in my industry. One of the best companies anywhere in the world, actually, regardless of the industry. And I learned a lot from there. I started my career there. So I do a lot of things like them. So we provide the entire value chain, which is from research and development to the design, to the factoring, to the assembly, to the sales and after sales. We have 14 after sales locations in Nigeria, one of the widest in the country, if not the widest in the country. And in terms of sales, we have different models. We have pickups, which are some of our biggest sellers, like the Nord Tank, that's one of people's favorite. We have the Nord Max, we have buses, we have the fleet, we have the tripper, we have SUVs, we have sedans, we have big trucks.
Dr. Jordan Femi Fagite, a pragmatic, astute entrepreneur, certified project management expert and industry captain, is the Group Executive Director, General Services of the CABOTA Group Limited.
One of the 4 directors on the board of directors of CABOTA Group Limited. And that makes me an executive director because, of course, I am involved in day-to-day operations and running of the company in an executive role. However, my roles or the roles of this office covers public relations, meaning I'm the #1 image maker for the company. It covers business development activities, and that means our business development initiatives, both in Nigeria and overseas, still comes under responsibilities of this office. And then there are general services of partnership relationships with stakeholders, also within and outside Nigeria. We formulate arrangements, logistics around this. We improve policy situations also around partner relations and collaborations. The CABOTA Group is a group of 5 member companies with the 6th member coming up very shortly. The first member, let me say the firstborn in the family of the CABOTA, is the CABOTA Energy Services Limited. CABOTA Energy Services Limited is a company which is a developer in the independent power sector in Nigeria. We generate bulk power using fossil fuels, and basically we prefer using green fuels, that's natural gas, which is environmentally friendly. Of course, you know that is almost zero pollution, and that's what the world needs now. Zero carbon credits, that's what we're trying to work towards. So everybody thought that before it was only solar that would give you zero carbon, so we're close to that now. So CABOTA Energy Services Limited, we are developers in the IPP sector. Developers in the sense that we bring in our expertise, we bring in our finance. We have business models which makes it easy for you as a customer to access our services, to either own or host an IPP. Now, there are relevant regulations that surrounds hosting an IPP, which by the time we look at it critically, if you qualify to be a captive power user, then we can deploy with our resources. That means we do 100% project financing. That's what you want. And then the EPC, the engineering, procurement and construction, we do everything. Now, your financial involvement begins at the point where you have to start paying your monthly energy bills after we must have supplied power to you for at least a month or thereabout. There are other business models. You might choose to own your IPP with your money. But of course, because we are solution providers, we have provided the solution to the Nigerian market to make sure that Nigerians have access to power, premium power, without the burdens of having to carry that heavy investment. So that's where we are right now. So now for other members of the CABOTA group, we have CABOTA Power Limited. I'll talk about power right after CABOTA Energy Services because I've seen a number of people out there who have confused CABOTA Power with CABOTA Energy Services. CABOTA Power is a different company altogether with a totally different area of operation and totally different scope. CABOTA Power handles distribution. We supply electrical items and equipments, okay, and we also now handle downstream part of power supply. Downstream in the sense that you have retail power requirements and you have bulk power requirements. Downstream power requirements might be some solution for your office, a small shop, a little mall, which might deploy solar or some other smaller solutions. The power can handle that because, of course, the power brings in all the equipment and appliances required for all that. So that's what CABOTA Power does fundamentally, transformers and all these things. These are the things we do because the scope of operations in power generation is very wide, And that's why CABOTA Energy Services concentrates on that core competence area, while CABOTA Power also concentrates on its own core competence areas of providing all the necessary inputs for power generation and distribution. And then, of course, the third member of the group is CABOTA Properties Management Services Limited. We are realtors, we're also developers in the industry when it comes to real estate in Nigeria. We all know the challenges being faced by the average Nigerian to have a roof over their heads. So as much as possible, this is a critical area of need that we have identified in the Nigerian society and the market, and which we have brought our own little bit of solutions to at this point. So CABOTA Properties Management Services Limited, we, besides developing real estates, we also do facility management services. It's not just enough putting up a building, selling or letting it out. It's also very critical to have or build up a proper maintenance culture, because that's part of the problems that a lot of buildings or a lot of facilities have suffered in Nigeria over the years. Poor maintenance services. The maintenance culture is something we have imbibed. We imbibe it from the point of construction. In fact, from the point of design, we put maintenance in mind. So we do facility maintenance services for buildings and estates built by us and those built by others, to at least show people how these things are meant to be done. Further to that, we have a cleaning arm under the facility maintenance services, which is a cleaning company outright, which handles cleaning in every aspect of it. Okay, so that's for CABOTA Properties Limited.
Deacon Babajide John Durojaye, an embodiment of intelligence, astute entrepreneur, philanthropist, real estate management expert, and industry captain, is the founder, group managing director, and chief executive officer of LEGRANDE Properties Development Company Limited, one of the frontline diversified real estate group of companies in Africa, and indeed one of the 100 most distinguished CEOs in Nigeria in 2023.
I will tell you, one thing that have kept us in business is integrity. People are ready to give us money and go to sleep. People beg us and say, please, let me just pay you. When it's ready, we'll come and meet. Integrity plays for us. The trust is there, and they know we'll surely deliver to them, we'll perform. The quality they desire will give to them. And second aspect is this: no matter how you come in, you are coming for a value. Many people are not living in Nigeria, but they bought from us and they have invested. They are using it for rent. They don't have problem because they are tenants. They know there is a process you need to follow. So we give value to people. So you are not just coming to put down your money. You surely get value. Many of them bought this place from us that time at 25 million. Today is about 120 million. And you know the rent they will have collected for over those period. This unit you are seeing is about 4 million. It started at 3 million. When other 3-bedroom in this area is just about 500, 400, they are charging 3 million. So you are sure of what? Value. Those are the things that speak for us. And those are the things that keep us going. All those projects make me to feel happy most times when we see them. Yes, we sit down like this with my team, and my team is no more than 7. And when we think and look at it, we just say, what do you want us to be here? And we look at it, and that is what is there. And by the time you pass through, you are happy. And you see people, they will greet you, and it goes on like that. I've received so much of wine from people. Just passing by, I said, Dickie, you cannot go. Come and take, please. I'm happy living here. Our first project is Mende Villa. We call it Mende Villa when we came in. And it's just 52 units. Terrace duplexes. Very challenging because of the piling I said. Because for you to move from one point to the other, it's not that easy. But when we deliver it, people were looking and said, what is these people doing here? Until the whole thing came out. And the next thing was that, don't bother, water will overrun them. And there was one heavy rain that time. I think a year after we commissioned this place, 2011. One heavy rain shook the whole of Lagos. A whole of Bagada was submerged. Many houses were coming down. People came outside there were many. Want to see what happens to this estate. And they were looking, no water, no flood, nothing. Everywhere was just so cool. And that was the first value people see direct in this estate. People were now rushing and said they want to buy, they want to rent. That pushed us to start Mende 2. People were depositing money and said, okay, just take anywhere you want to build here. That took us to the next one. And those are the tall buildings you are seeing there. And the only thing we did was to add another floor and make the whole floor up a master bedroom. That is the selling point for that one. We call it a master bedroom. The madam's wardrobe is bigger than this room. I'm telling you, the total unit we have there is 48. In just 4 weeks, the whole thing was gone. But one thing with us, we don't put high price. We work affordable. From there, we moved to GRA, County Court Terrace Estate. Very interesting. It was built for a group of people. Anytime I go there, I'm very happy. From there, we moved down to Lekki, where we built for Shell. Since they have been trying one estate or the other as being a failure, we built the first estate for them, and they call it Coplag Estate. It's about 186 units, combination of detached units, semi-detached, and terrace. That's what they have. They finance the project. We own the project, but they beg us because they don't have any estate in their name. We want to buy everything 100%. So they bought. So from there, we came back to Ilupeju, moved to Mende again, Mende 4. Also go to GRA 2 again. From there, we moved back to Lekki. We have Royal Court Estate.
AKUAK, an audacious, astute, highly experienced petroleum engineering expert, vision-driven entrepreneur, and industry captain, is the Chief Executive Officer of SPRINGROCK Group, one of the frontline diversified oil and gas firms in Nigeria.
I happen to have, studied in Nigeria, and I did my NYSC. And luckily for me, at the end of my NYSC, I was sent overseas. I was hired by Schlumberger and sent overseas. And for about 2 decades, I worked in every continent except Australia, worked in 20-something plus countries. And I was observing and learning how people lived and how they did things, not just in the oil and gas space, but as a country, in a place. And at some point, I said to myself, I believe I've learned quite a bit of things, that I need to take this back to my own country and be able to, be part of the country. Prior to that, Schlumberger has sent me back to Nigeria in 2010, and I was the group managing director for West Africa. My remit was Equatorial Guinea, Cameroon, Nigeria, all the way to Mauritania. I did that for about 4 years plus. Then I went back to the United States in another position. But after about a year, I decided to come back to Nigeria to put those ideas and things that I've come across over the years into play. In oil and gas, we set out to occupy all the spaces that is needed to effectively develop an oil and gas field. So we started with the well construction, and our approach to well construction was a little bit larger than what was a norm. We had the ability to start from what you call field development plan all the way to when you hook up the well to production. And we did extremely well in that domain with a number of new ways to do things. And we have a litany of things that we've done that were done for the first time in Nigeria, done by us. Then we went into engaging companies, looking at how they are structured. Do they have process and procedures? How could they enhance the way they work? How do they develop their people? Beyond that, we went into talent development. We realized that for us to be successful, we will not be able to hire everybody we need. We also needed to develop some of the people we need. So we got a number of young, fresh engineers, and our goal was to put them through intensive 9 months training to actually, at the end of that 9 months, they will have capabilities equivalent to somebody who has 3 years work experience. So, and as we built our strength in talent development, we next went into production management, and the list goes on and on. And part of that, we instituted the idea of a research program, both internally and with universities. So over time, we garnered all the capabilities that you require to optimally manage an oil field. So our current frontier now, which I think will be the closure, or if you like, the crowning glory of the SPRINGROCK story, is to be able to partner with like minds to have our own asset, where we put all this knowledge and capabilities to most optimally run an asset. And in a way also, I say, we'll be our own laboratory, where we'll test our new innovations and ideas, and when we have made them successful, we can turn around, sell that to the rest of the world. So that's how SPRINGROCK began. But over time, we've grown beyond oil and gas. We've gone into ICT. And how did ICT come by? As part of our search to find better ways to do things, to improve our processes, we decided that we're going to digitize some of our processes, build softwares to make certain things quicker, and we're able to do that. And then at the point I asked myself, okay, if we can do this for ourselves, we can do this for the rest of the world. So there came our ICT business. So currently we have 3 footprints in the ICT domain. We have the development company, which we call CABOTA, and they can build software programs, platforms, applications, and so on and so forth. We are on the verge of launching into the e-commerce space, and we are, I think, weeks away, not even months away. And we will bring something completely different into that space, but I hope it will be very well received. And at the same time, we are also working into the payment and fintech space, so that we are able to connect all these 3 ecosystems. And we are continuously looking for what is next. And like I said, our goal is not the competition. Our goal is the customer. If we capture the customer, we beat the competition. So beyond ICT, we are also into business services. And why business services? In this part of the world, unfortunately, you have to do everything yourself. And that makes things very difficult and very expensive. I'll give you an example. We have an entity in the US where we also run SPRINGROCK. And this entity outsources its payroll services to a company called ADP. ADP charges us $75 a month to manage our payroll. Can you imagine that? If we had to hire an accountant in the US, we would not even find one for $1,000, right? And can you imagine $1,000 or more to $75 a month? That's a huge savings for a company. So the idea of business services is to be able to provide things like payroll management, human resources management to small companies, so that instead of 5 or 6 companies each going to hire one accountant, we could actually have one senior accountant who can serve each of those companies, and they will save a significant amount of cost. So that's a business that's still about in its infancy from our side, and that's something we expect that will grow with time. and it will be well embraced, and it will be something that's good not only for the country, but also it will also spur some growth for us. So that's how we came about SPRINGROCK Group. We are still thinking of other things. I have in my back of my mind what I call the SPRINGROCK Technologies, in which we'll ultimately create a technology park. And that technology park will aggregate people who want to innovate. Of course, largely, most of them will be very young people, but if you're 90 years old and you want to innovate, you'll also be welcome. So we've already started a little bit testing that idea with what we call the University Gambit. I probably will talk about it later. But with that, when we create the SPRINGROCK Technologies Park, that will be another place where we'll incubate. And in this environment, then we'll not only be incubating for oil and gas or for ICT, but we also look at how do you leverage an idea. You know, if you look, for example, there is a tool that was a revolution in the oil and gas industry. That tool actually was borrowed from the medical field, because the medical field was already advanced in nuclear magnetic resonance. And at some point, the oil and gas leveraged on the nuclear magnetic resonance from the medical to come up with advancements in the oil fields.
This is SPRINGROCK Group. We are a privately held energy company positioned to deliver world-class solutions in the oil and gas and power sectors of the energy domain. Our vision is to be the leading provider of services in the domain that we participate. SPRINGROCK Group, call us now.
I mentioned some top global manufacturers in the world.
We've never seen ourselves as a company.
Or are you going to build office space?
And that's about it on today's package of the EOM Business Network. Thank you very much for spending your valued time with us. We do not take it for granted. We only hope it was worth your while. Our deep gratitude to our sponsors for your continued interest and support. Always remember, with you and us, we are champs. Always join us on any of our other feedback portals, as you can see on the screen. I remain Olorogo Elkanah Moware. See you same time, same channel next week.